Hey folks, do you want to know how personal injury attorneys typically get paid, particularly if you've got a Virginia car accident case? Stick around and watch this video and we'll explain to you how it works. Hey folks, James Abrinio coming to you from Abrinio Law, your Northern Virginia personal injury and criminal defense law firm. Before we start, we got our information here on the screen. So website, phone number, email address. Also, I want to make sure subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to expand our subscriber base. Our goal is to produce interesting and useful content about Virginia personal injury and criminal defense law. We also have a YouTube podcast where we're talking to interesting people doing important things here in Virginia. So hopefully you find it useful. And our goal is to educate as many people as possible. So take the time. So in this video, we're going to be talking about contingency fees. And the question is how do personal injury attorneys typically get paid? And of course, every attorney and every plaintiff has the ability to contract how they want to contract. But typically speaking, personal injury attorneys work on what we call a contingency fee. So what is a contingency fee? A contingency fee is essentially an agreement that we, the personal injury attorneys, will get paid a percentage of the overall settlement. So that means at the end of the day, if you get a settlement check or if you get a check after a jury verdict or a bench verdict and you get awarded an amount of money, our contingency fee will be based on that total amount. So let's say, for instance, there's a contingency fee of 33%. You get a $100,000 settlement or verdict. Our contingency fee at that point would be $33,000 out of that $100,000 settlement. Now, why is the contingency fee the way it is? Seems like a lot of money, and that is absolutely true. And as we talk, and if you watch our other videos, a lot of times when we're considering cases and we're advising clients whether or not they need an attorney, the contingency fee is indeed a high percentage. Our fee actually is a little bit different. We start off at 25%. We get within 3 months of a trial, we go up to that standard third. And so we try to benefit the client a little bit if we're able to settle a case sooner rather than later. But either way, it's a lot of money. And the way that makes sense for us, the attorneys, is the reality is if we lose the case, we're getting $0. So you, the client, are able to have access to representation as a plaintiff here in Virginia as an injured victim of negligence. You're able to get access to an attorney without having to pay upfront retainers, without having to pay hourly rates. For instance, if let's say you're charged with a crime here in Virginia, the way I work as a criminal attorney is I will charge a flat fee that you have to pay upfront before I enter the case. With the contingency fee, you don't have to pay anything, and you hear the marketing term, it's free unless you get paid. That's where that comes from. Essentially, you don't have to pay in order to get representation. Now, of course, from our side, from the attorney side, that also means that we as attorneys are not actually getting paid until the resolution of cases. So that means in many instances that can be several months. In some instances, it can be several years. So I've had cases that I entered my appearance on multiple years before we ultimately got to trial. In fact, I just had a case like that. I had the case for 5 years, and we didn't actually get a verdict until 5 years later because the insurance company wasn't settled. So that means that I had to essentially not get paid, work, and go without the risk of not getting paid, because if we lost, the attorney gets $0. So that's the benefit of you, is essentially we, the personal injury attorney, are taking on a lot of risk in doing the contingency fee. But also, again, it's exchange. So we have a relatively high portion. And of course, doing personal injury work is a lot of work. And I believe that that our value is justified by that. Now, the other thing you need to realize when we're talking about contingency fee, typically speaking, the client is going to be responsible for other costs in the case. We're talking about litigation costs. That means hiring experts. That means filing lawsuits. That means deposition costs. That means bringing your doctors in to come in to testify. So that comes out of the settlement on top of our contingency fee. If there's health insurance liens that you're required to pay back to your health insurance company, if there's outstanding bills, that's all comes out of the client's share of the settlement or verdict as well. So our contingency fee is on top of the net, and then also your cost out of the case will also be deducted from whatever total settlement value or verdict value it is. So as you can see, and I remind people this, when you ask how much is my case worth, it should not be, in my view, a simple, okay, the case is worth $100,000. I think when you're working with an attorney and when you're considering hiring an attorney, you need to be thinking about it in net terms of value, not just gross total. You want to be thinking about how much money is actually going to go into your pocket. This comes up a lot when I'm dealing with, and I get calls from people with relatively minor injuries, maybe some strains and sprains, maybe going with the primary care doctor, maybe a little bit of therapy. And let's say your case is worth $4,000. I, as the attorney, can probably come in and get you $5,000. By the time I take my fee, you're actually walking away with less money. I think that, in my view, hiring a personal injury attorney should really be reserved to where there's more complex treatment. So let's say your case is worth $50,000 or $100,000. In those cases where we're talking more money, usually, in my experience, I'm finding insurance companies are going to be lowballing people. And so for that $50,000 case, they're offering you $12,000. I can come in and get you a full value. Now it makes sense because you're actually seeing more money in your pocket. Certainly when we're talking about fractures, surgeries, complex liability cases where the clarity of who caused the accident are situations where I think you need an attorney. Because I think the value added by the attorney should outweigh the cost of paying that attorney. I do oftentimes, or not oftentimes, occasionally I have cases where people will call me. They've got more complex cases. They've tried to resolve it themselves. They've already put a demand out there. Before the response comes back from the insurance company, they're wondering, James, should I hire you? And so for those cases, let's say you've already made a demand. I don't have a problem so long as there's not an issue with the statute of limitations of you waiting for a response, so long as the response is coming timely. I will tell you in many instances where I've been in that situation, they will put out a demand and the insurance company just doesn't respond, and then I will step in there. There are other instances where people will come to me, they've actually secured an offer. And so let's say it's a $50,000 offer. They've been offered $35,000. And even though the case probably is worth $50,000, I will say to them, look, if you hire me, I'll end up eating into that net benefit. And at the end of the day, you'll end up possibly seeing the same amount of money in your pocket. So sometimes I will tell them, let's not do that. Why don't you go ahead and resolve it yourself? I like to get paid, but it doesn't make sense to pay me. So those are the questions you need to be asking yourself when you're thinking contingency fee. Wow, that's a lot of money. Does it make sense to hire an attorney? In complex cases, usually speaking, it will absolutely make sense to hire an attorney. In more simple cases, I think that's a tougher question to ask and to answer. But before you go into it, hopefully this video gives you a little more information about how contingency fees work. I'll tell you just from personal experience, my wife and I just had a child. We're looking to buy her a bigger house. She had purchased house we're in. I'm a first-time home purchaser. I'm looking at how real estate agents get paid. It's confusing to me. And so I always wish somebody would just create a video like this. So hopefully this video is helping you understand how personal injury attorneys work, how they get paid. I'd also recommend that you take some time to visit our website. And let me do this for you. I'm going to go ahead and share my website. Share screen. Window. Indulgence. So what I would do is I would absolutely recommend you going to our website. So if you scroll on the website, this is the homepage. We've tried to do a pretty good job of making the website easy to understand. I would recommend that you go to the personal injury page, go to the car accident page. As you can see, in addition to videos like this specific one, we've done a good job of answering a bunch of questions here. Very common questions we get. Should I sign a HIPAA release? Is there a statute of limitations in your case? What if there's an argument of contributory negligence? Should I use my health insurance? So a lot of very fundamental questions that's going to be asked that you probably have, or maybe didn't think to ask. And we've also went into more detailed questions here. So I'd absolutely recommend you check out our website, and you can find articles and videos that we wrote. So hopefully this is useful for you. If you have any other questions, make sure to reach out. I'm going to go ahead and put my information back up there. Again, this is our email address, website, phone number, and make sure to subscribe. So hopefully you found this video useful. I wish you guys the best. And until we talk again, take care. Bye.